Good morning to all the students of class 9. Most welcome to all of you in this video lecture. This is Kamlesh Misra, subject teacher of social study from Lakshmi Prasad Memorial Public School, Gola Bazar, Gorakhpur. Dear students, in this video lectures, I am going to explain about democracy in details to all of you. In this video lectures, we will discuss about the future of democracy, merits of democracy, demerits or drawbacks of democracy, and how we will be able to distinguish democratic government from non-democratic government, and what are the non-democratic countries, what are the democratic countries. Okay, so let's start. Dear students, as I have explained to all of you that democracy is a form of government in which rulers are elected by the people. These definitions separates democracy from forms of government that are clearly not democratic. Democracy is the best form of the government because it is more accountable to the peoples. Democracy is the best form of government as the rulers are accountable to the peoples and have to fulfill their needs. Democracy is based on consultation and discussions. In a democracy, peoples enjoy several rights. But in non-democratic governments, peoples do not elect their rulers and have no rights in decision making. A democracy has several features. What are the features of democracy? Dear students, in a democratic countries, rulers are elected by the peoples. There are free and fair elections. Elections offers a choice and fair opportunities to the people and fair opportunities to the peoples to change the current rulers. There is a freedom of expressions and the peoples enjoy their fundamental rights. The opposition parties are allowed to function freely before and after the elections. There is a rule of law because of which a democratic government rules within the limits set by the country's constitutional law and the citizen rights. So these are the features of democracy. What are the merits of democracy? Dear students, a democratic government is a better government because it is a more accountable form of government. Democracy improves the quality of decision making. Democracy provides a method to deal with the differences and conflicts. Democracy enhances the dignity of the citizens, and democracy is better than other form of governments because it allows us to correct its own mistakes. Okay, students? But there is also some demerits of democracy, as I have explained you that leaders keep changing in a democracy. Democracy is all about political competitions and power play. Democracy is all about political competitions and power play. Democracy leads to corruptions for it is based on electoral competitions. Elected leaders do not know the best interest of the peoples and it leads to bad decisions. However, democracy is not the solutions of all problem. It offers better chances of a good decision. It is likely to respect people's own wishes and allows different kinds of peoples to live together. It is undoubtedly the best form of government. Dear students, so these are the definitions of democracy. That democracy is a form of government in which rulers are elected by the peoples, and this definition separate democracy from the forms of government that are clearly not democratic. Democracy is the best form of government as the rulers are accountable to the people and have to fulfill their needs. So democracy is based on consultations and discussions. and discussions. In a democracy, people enjoy several rights. Democracy has several features. What are the features of democracy? In democratic countries, rulers are elected by the peoples. There are free and fair elections. Elections offer a choice and a fair opportunities to the peoples to change the current rulers, and there is a freedom of expressions, and the people enjoy their fundamental rights. People enjoy their fundamental rights. There is a rule. There is a rule. There is a rule of law because of which a democratic government rules within the limits set by the country constitutional law and the citizen rights. Demerits of democracy. Dear student, leaders keep changing in democracy. Democracy is all about political competitions and power play. Democracy leads to corruptions, for it is based on electoral competitions. Elected leaders do not know the best interest of the peoples, it leads to the bad decisions. However, democracy is not the solution of all problems. It offers a better chance of good decisions. It is likely to respect people's own wishes and allow different kinds of peoples live together. It is undoubtedly the best form of government. Okay, dear students, how you will be able to distinguish democratic government from non-democratic one? Let you know, dear students, in democratic governments, democracy is the best form of government as the rulers are accountable to the peoples and have to fulfill their needs. But in non-democratic governments, the rulers are not accountable to the peoples and their needs. Second differences between democratic government and non-democratic government. Dear students, in democratic governments, peoples elect their rulers and have right in decision making. But in non-democratic governments, peoples do not elect their rulers and have no right in decision making. In a democratic government, the parliament is a separate body and has no interference of army. But in non-democratic government, the parliament cannot pass a law without the law about the army, without the consent of the chief of army. Okay. In a democratic country, any citizens can aspire to contest elections for any post, irrespective of his or her caste, religion, socio-economics, and educational backgrounds, which means the right of vote is available to all the citizens. But in non-democratic government, the citizen of a country have no right to vote. Okay. Democracy is based on consultation and discussions, and in democratic government, people enjoy their right of freedom. But dear students, in non-democratic government, which is based on dictatorship, the ruler does what he wishes. So in a non-democratic government, which is based on dictatorship, the ruler does what he wishes. There are free and fair elections. In a democratic government, elections offer a choice and fair opportunities to the peoples to change the current rulers. But in non-democratic government, elections are often not held, and if held, they are not fair enough. Rather, they are imposing. There is a freedom of expressions, and peoples enjoy their fundamental rights in a democratic government. But in a non-democratic, there is no freedom of expressions. And peoples do not enjoy their fundamental rights. Examples of democratic government are India and USA, and the examples of non-democratic government are Saudi Arabia, Zimbabwe, China, Nepal. These all are the examples of non-democratic countries. So non-democratic form of government is there. Okay. Dear students, so we are going to explain about the merits of democracy in detail, as I have told you and explained you. So once again I am going to explain in details to all of you for the sake of your understanding what is democracy and what are the examples of non-democratic countries. Dear student, democracy is a form of a government where leaders are elected by the peoples, as I have explained you, and the examples of non-democratic countries are the rulers of Myanmar are not elected by the peoples. So those who are in the government are not elected by the people. So people have no say in the government. So Myanmar is the example of non-democratic countries. Pinchers like the dictators in Chile was not elected by the people. So Chile is also example of non-democratic countries. And the king ruled in Saudi Arabia and Nepal because he born in a royal family. So Nepal and Saudi Arabia are also examples of non-democratic countries. What are the essential features of democracy? As we have discussed about it, in a democracy, the final decision-making power must be with those elected by the peoples. A democracy must be based on free and fair elections, where those currently in power have a fair chance of losing. In a democracy, each adult citizen must have one vote and each vote have one value. A democratic government rules within the limits set by the constitutional law and the citizen rights. Independent newspapers and journalists were harassed and write against the president. And I have explained you that democracy improves the quality of decision making. So how democracy improves the quality of decision making? Dear students, democracy is based on consultations and discussions. In a democracy, decision making always involves many persons' discussions and meetings. When a number of people put their heads together, they are able to point out possible mistakes in any decisions. So this procedure takes time, but there is a big advantage in taking time over an important decisions, as it prevents one from taking rash or irresponsible decisions. So thus we can say that democracy improves the quality of decision making, and it also provides a method to deal with the differences and conflicts. How democracy provides method to deal with the differences and conflicts, let you know. Dear students, in any society, people are bound to have a difference of opinions and interest. So these are the particularly sharp in India, which has an amazing social diversity. As you all know that India is a country which is full of an amazing social diversity. There are different religions of the peoples live together peacefully. Peoples belong to different regions, speak different languages, practices different religions, and have different caste. The preference of one group may clash with those of the others. It is a very common thing. So these clash of decisions can be solved by the previous power. Whichever group is more powerful will dictate its terms, and others will have to accept that. But this will lead to resentment. But in democracy, one can find a solution to this. Here, no one is a permanent winner, no one is the permanent loser. Different groups can live with one another peacefully. Examples in India, different people live together. So in this way, democracy provides a method to deal with the differences and conflicts. Democracy also enhances the dignity of the citizens. Dear students, as you know, and I have explained you in the first video lectures, that democracy is based on the principle of political equality. That means stating that the poorest and the least educated have the same status as the rich and the educated. People are not the subject of rulers, they are the rulers themselves. Even when they make mistakes, they are responsible for their own mistakes. Thus, democracy enhances the dignity of the citizens. Democracy is considered as the best form of government. Why? democracy is considered as the best form of government. Dear student, democracy is considered the best form of government for the reason as follows. Democracy cannot give us everything, it's true, but it is clearly better than any other alternative. It is a government responsive to the needs of the peoples. It is likely to respect people's wishes and allows different kinds of peoples to live together. Even when it fails to do some of these things, it allows a way of for correcting its mistakes and offer more dignity to all its citizens. That is why it is considered as the best form of government. Democracy is the best form of government. Dear students, what is the broader meaning of democracy? Broader meaning of democracy, for the sake of your understanding, democracy is a form of government in which people's representatives sit together to take decisions. Elections are held to choose representatives, and native peoples or citizens are allowed to participate in the elections. Democracy as a principles can be applied to any sphere of life. In a true democracy, no one goes to bed hungry or denied equal information, basic educations, and equal resources. So this is the broader meaning of democracy. Okay, students, in a true democracy, no one goes to bed hungry or denied equal information, basic educations, and equal resources. Now, let's study what are the role of citizens in a democracy. Dear students, no democracy can function in the absence of social, responsible, and informed citizens. Okay, no democracy can function in the absence of social, responsible, and informed citizens. Citizens maintain social harmony by mutually respecting and tolerating differences and the view of all others who disagree with them. As citizens have a right to express their dissent, they act as a director to the government, where they express their grievances through channels provided by the democratic systems. Citizens also play a decisive role in the establishment of the welfare government by participating and seeking to influence public opinion. When the citizens exercise their rights to vote, exercise their right to vote, they provide directions to the whole democratic process. Okay? And I have explained you, firstly I have explained you that what are the merits and demerits of democracy. Again I am going to explain it for clearing your concept. Dear student, democracy is the form of government which is chosen or elected by the people to work for their welfare and can be changed by them. What are the merits of democracy? Democracy is the best form of government, as the rulers are accountable to the peoples and have to fulfill their needs. Democracy is based on consultations and discussion. This reduces the chances of hasty and irresponsible decisions from being taken and improves the quality of decision making. Demerits of democracy: leaders keep changing in democracy. It leads to instability. Democracy is all about the political competitions and power play. There is no scope or morality. Democracy is all about the political competition and power play. There is no scope for morality. Dear students, how you will justify the statement? So give some arguments against democracy. Dear students, political parties and candidates use all the dirty tricks to win in the election. Political parties and the candidates use all the dirty tricks to win the elections. Many of them use money and muscles power during the elections. Many of them use money and muscles power during the elections. So political parties or candidates demand votes on the basis of caste or religion, etc. So it's clear that there is no scope for morality in democracy because political parties and candidates use all the dirty tricks to win in elections. So it is about the political competitions and power play. Major features of democracy. Number one, final authority with the people's representatives. In a democracy, the final decision-making power must rest with those elected by the peoples. Number second, free and fair elections. This is the second features of democracy. A democracy must be based on free and fair elections, where those currently in the powers have a fair chance of losing. One person, one vote, one value. This is also one of the features of democracy. In a democracy, each adult citizen must have one vote and each vote must have one value. Rule of law and respect for rights. This is also the features of democracy. Rule of law and respect for the rights. A democratic government rules within limits set by the constitutional law and the citizens' right. Okay, dear students, it allows us to correct its own mistakes. How? Explain. So I am going to explain that how democracy allows us to correct its own mistakes. So dear students, there is no guarantee that mistakes cannot be made in a democracy. There is no guarantee that mistakes cannot be made in democracy. No form of government can guarantee that. The advantage in a democracy is that such mistakes cannot be hidden for long. There is a space for public. So there is a room for correction. There is space for public discussions on these mistakes. There is a room for corrections. Either the rulers have to change their decisions or the rulers can be changed. So this cannot happen in a non-democratic government. Okay students? Democracy is called the government of discussion. Dear students, democracy provides all the citizens some basic rights. Democracy provides all the citizens some basic rights through which they can give their opinion. Democracy provides a chance to all the citizens to choose their representatives and change them if they do not work according to their wishes. In the parliament, all the members have the right to give their opinions. Democracy provides the citizens a right to follow. Any religion. A democratic government is a better form of government because it is more accountable form of government. So democratic government is an accountable government. It is responsible for its actions, decisions and policies including the administrations. The government is answerable to the parliament, or we can say to the peoples. If government is not working according to the needs and expectations of the citizens, the parliament can move no confidence motions against the